Activate.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Pink Cloud. I am DJ Kelly Reverb. We are a show that is about multiple pathways to recovery, all that kind of good stuff, mental health. Speaking of mental health, Chad will not be with us today because he can't drive on the road because it's 45 degrees outside and there was ice last night. So poor Chad couldn't make it. Anyway, but I'm manning the air horn, the drum roll, all the good stuff. So we don't really even need Chad. Anyway, but yeah, he'll be back next couple episodes. But today I'm excited to have this guy on. It's been a while in the making, I think. It was like you were out of town. We were not shooting, all kinds of logistic stuff. But now you are on and you have made it in studio. Unlike Chad.
Well, I'm grateful to be here.
but everybody give it up for Joey Upton. How are you?
Guys, how are you?
I am good, dude. So tell us, give the people the backstory on how we set this up, because you just hit us up actually through I guess it was an email, right?
Yeah, it was Instagram. It was a DM.
Yeah.
So I went to.
So look, dreams do come true, kids.
I saw a good friend of mine, Josh Jordan, on here. I went to.
I like to refer to Josh Jordan as the people's champ.
The people's champ. Yeah. So I saw him on here a couple times, and then I saw another friend of mine, Andrew, on here.
Right.
And people that I've stayed in contact with through recovery, and I was like, man, this is such an amazing idea. Why isn't there any more of these shows out here regularly?
Well, I appreciate that.
And I was like, I would love to get the chance to tell my story.
Yeah.
Because I'm one of the people that, from my story, I did not think I would make it, and now I have 5.5 years sober. So.
Wow, well, congrats.
Yeah, thank
Dukes.
you.
Yeah. Well, I guess, so, I mean, usually what we do is just kind of rewind, tell a little bit of your backstory, and then at some point we'll awkwardly throw to commercial, and then we'll finish it up. So,
sure.
Take it away.
Yeah, so, I grew up in Southern California, and with everything that's happening in the news today, just pray for California.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
basically burning down. But
were you in San Diego or LA?
So I was in the very last city of Orange County.
Okay.
So it's called San Clemente.
Okay.
It's right next to Camp Pendleton Marine Base.
I was like, San Clemente, isn't there a prison there?
The Marine Base is there. But
no prison?
No prison.
Oh, okay.
I think the closest prison would be like Chino.
There we go.
In the Inland Empire.
Right. Gotcha.
But yeah.
Where's Folsom Prison?
Folsom.
Is that San Francisco?
Honestly, I have no idea.
You don't know?
That Johnny Cash reference just went straight over my head.
Right. Well, at least you knew it was Johnny Cash. So not completely lost.
Yeah, that was a little bit before my time.
Well, no, but I mean, I thought Folsom was in California somewhere, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll look it up.
Yeah. I was born there in 87, and I grew up in my parents divorced when we were really young, and my dad took care of us for a while. My mom left for mental health issues.
Okay, like what age were you?
Oh, I was 3 years old.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you're basically, you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I have no idea what marriage looks like at the moment. And my dad was 27 taking care of a 3-year-old boy, a 5-year-old girl, and then a 7-year-old girl. And now that I'm a father, I look back on that and I'm like, that is just ridiculous. I have no idea how he handled that himself, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, but back then, dude, it was a different time, where it's like, you go to high school, you go to college, you find your significant other in college or in high school.
Yeah.
You know, you get married, you have kids, and then, you know, I mean, that's the script.
Yeah.
You know, the Norman Rockwell home, you know. By the way, Folsom State is in California.
Awesome.
And I don't know, it's in Repressa. You know what that is?
No, I don't.
Well, I'm gonna. you're fired, man.
Yeah, I was like, man, California is huge. It'd be like North Carolina, South Carolina,
right,
Georgia.
All right. Well, so anyway.
Yeah. So basically, they divorced and we moved around a lot. I think I went to 2 middle schools and 4 high schools.
Oh, wow.
Moving around.
2 middle schools. So was this all in California or?
Yeah, it was all in California, all southern Orange County.
Okay. So you went to 2 middle schools and how many?
4 high schools.
Oh, holy crap. So and here, so our middle school in Dallas was basically 3 years is middle school. So 7th, 8th, 9th, and then 10th, 11th, and 12th was high school. So what was it for you guys?
So in California, it was 6th, 7th, and 8th was middle school.
Gotcha.
And then 9th through 12th would be high school.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So pretty much like every second semester of the new year.
Yeah, you're just like,
school.
I just made friends and now I have to make new ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was pretty much my life growing up. And I think I tried weed once when I was like 12 and it gave me the heebie-jeebies. I was just like terrified, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to do this again.
Right. God forbid. Right. Yeah. No, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, my mom started to come back.
It was like smoking cigarettes. God, why would anybody ever do this? And then, 40 years later,
just straight chain smoking a pack.
Yep.
My mom came back into our lives and she had like no rules. I could do whatever I want, whenever I want.
Right.
So I was all like, all right, I'm going to just stay at my mom's house, and freaking party. And I started skateboarding, and, Texas is huge in sports like football and everything like that. Well, California is basically surfing and skateboarding.
Right.
So I got sponsored for a clothing sponsor.
Oh, so you were actually good.
Yeah, I was pretty good. Yeah.
At skating, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back in the day, nowadays these kids are coming in from
Japan.
Yeah,
you
that are
get
just
smoked, dude. They come out of the womb just like doing like a 360 like out of the womb.
Oh yeah, I think I saw like a kickflip and an ultrasound the other day.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Yeah. So I was just spending all my time on that. And then when that happened, I was probably about like 16, 17. And then I started smoking weed regularly. Yeah,
was that because of the crowd, the company you were keeping? It was kind of just normal.
Yeah, I think it was probably because of the crowd. And then again, I was just like lonely from constantly moving all the time. Not really having like my feet planted on the ground. So I just wanted anything to take away my reality in that situation. Like my mom got married and divorced within like 7 months.
Okay.
So that's like equivalent to us moving around all the time.
Right. Yeah.
So I was just like, I can't.
It just sounds like a lot of instability growing up, for sure.
For sure. There was definitely a lot of instability. And so basically, my dad didn't want me to live with him because I was smoking weed, and he got remarried as well. And there's like no drugs or anything in the house, but I couldn't stay sober.
Right.
So I just started partying with my mom and not with my mom.
Oh, okay. I got you. Partying, and your mom was her house.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So,
well, because I mean, the guy we had on before you was he was partying with his mom.
Oh, really?
Yeah, for sure.
No, I think I've maybe like drank a couple times with my mom at like 4th of July parties.
I always felt weird, like, you know, partying with your parents was just strange to me.
I don't think I could smoke weed with my parents.
But it's funny because some people do, man. Some people, that's their norm.
Oh, you know? Man. My dad was basically Red Foreman from That 70s Show growing up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, like he was tough as nails with a heart of gold and like no filter with the tongue. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. I remember like doing Little League, and he'd be like, "Take your skirt off, Josephina. Get under it, Sally."
That's funny. I like that.
And I'm like, oh my God. Right? So smoking weed with him was a big no-no.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm moving to North Carolina for mental health issues. So I'm going to dip. And it was my senior year of high school, so I could have went to my 5th high school.
Yeah.
Or I could have. She said, "I'll pay your rent until you graduate high school,
right?
And then you're on your own." And
well, not to air her business, but did y'all figure out like what it was like as far as mental health going?
A bit of manic tendencies.
Okay.
So she basically retired from working when she was like 40, 45.
Okay.
Yeah. And she's been on the state disability, like she's still on state disability for like the last like 20 years right now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she has like her own set schedule.
Well, and I mean, it's crazy like what that's like when you have bipolar really, really bad, and then also manic.
Yeah.
You know, it like how debilitating that can be, you know, and especially when you're trying to raise kids and you got somebody else in the picture and it's not just yourself, you know?
Yeah. I mean, like there's so much. When I grew up, it was just like victim mentality, you know, like, oh man, I can't believe she left me again, or came back into the house and left again. But like now that I'm older and have a family on my own, it's kind of like sick man's prayer, you know?
Yeah.
Like I just, my sponsor was like, "Hey, like, do you see how selfish you're being? You know, like your mom has like a mental health issue, and you're basically blaming everything on your life from her." You know?
Right.
Yeah.
Was that kind of the scenario? What you were doing?
Oh,
was blaming her?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, like everything was like, "Oh, you left," or "Oh, you did this," when I'm basically running around partying, not really.
Right. Yeah, you're the one. You're the one that's smoking weed and doing all the nefarious things.
Yeah.
She's not making you.
No, not at all. So when she left, I was all like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sponsored with a clothing sponsor and a board sponsor. I'm going to be the next Tony Hawk Pro skater."
Oh, yeah, hell yeah.
Like, I'm not going to my 5th high school in North Carolina. Like, are you kidding me?
Right.
So I moved in with a bunch of guys that are older than me, which is just a recipe for disaster. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where basically...
Were they older skater dudes?
One of them skated. He was a little bit older than me, but the other ones are just old coworkers. We all worked at Starbucks together.
Oh, nice.
And we just
just a house full of barista stoners.
Yeah, barista stoners that would steal whipped cream canisters and
hell yeah,
hit the nos in the back.
The old whip it.
Yeah, and be like, wah, 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 wah. Like be at the register and think it would be funny to bend down and go,
right. Yeah.
"What can I get you?"
That would actually be pretty funny.
Yeah. Dude, like blue in the face.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when I moved in with them, that's when like they just introduced me to every drug, you know, like I like first it was cocaine, and then it was speed, and then it was heroin, and everything. It just like progressed so rapidly. And I was on speed for a while, and I was just winning every contest in skateboarding.
Oh yeah,
because I was so like.
Well, as far as speed goes, like what kind of speed are we talking? Are we talking meth speed?
Yeah.
Or?
So it was basically like meth. Yeah, there's this older guy. We called him Joe Senior, and he came and moved into the house, and he was staying a lot of time in the garage, and he was just like, he's like, oh, I'm staining.
He looked like Walter White.
Pretty much. I was so young and so naive, and he's like, oh, I'm just staining this bookshelf for a wedding present for this guy.
Yeah,
and I'm just like,
just don't come in here with an open flame.
Yeah, and I was like. Man, he's been staining this for like 2 months. Like, what's going on, you know? And he would just like make everyone happy by like giving free meth to all the roommates, Yeah, so I was like, okay, but hindsight looking back on it, he had a factory.
Instead of like baking cookies or cooking or anything, here's some meth, guys.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And he would just like give meth to everyone, and I was all like, this guy's really nice.
Yeah,
He's very friendly.
Well, it's funny. It's funny because I always say the two things I got the memo on were heroin and meth.
Yeah.
Like, okay, these drugs can be highly addictive. Chances are your shelf life of using successfully is not going to be that long.
No. I old friend of mine used to say that there's no heroin addicts in their 40s.
Right.
Yeah, they're always gone. He's like, you'll find a crackhead that's 92 that just jumped off the roof. That wants to like wash your car for $5. Right. But there's no heroin addicts in their 40s. Well,
and now, dude, it's just scary with the whole fentanyl and everything. Opioid addict in general, dude. Yeah, I mean, shit, dude, it could be one and done now.
Oh, yeah. I'm so happy that was like right before my time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right when I got sober, it was like fentanyl like ran the street.
Oh, yeah,
and I was like, oh my gosh.
Right.
Because I wouldn't make it.
Yeah,
I would
for
love
sure.
it. I would love it.
Yeah. Or you would just, I mean, I've had friends that, obviously thought they were getting, a perk or a Xanax or whatever.
Yeah, that's scary.
And then guess what? They're not here.
They're done.
Yeah. Sad.
Yeah.
But, it is, it is what it is. And you gotta, but it does suck that there's no, that part, like probably when you and I were growing up was, oh, cool, it's fun to experiment and see what's cool. But now you can't even do that because guess what? You could die.
Yeah, next you're dead. Yeah. So basically, I was just living in that house, and then one of my older roommates was a heroin addict, and he would just give us heroin. So it was a good time for me when I was 19.
Sure.
It was free meth and heroin.
Right.
While I'm slinging 2% half non-fat, 1 Splenda lattes.
That is crazy. So, and how many people were in the house?
So it was 4.
Okay.
So I was 19, and then there was another roommate named Brent that was 28. Justin was 25, and then Gabe, the heroin addict, was 32.
Right.
And every now and then, Joe Senior would stop in Walter White up the garage, and he was like 45. So
that's hilarious, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
that sounds like the premise for a sitcom.
Oh man,
it
was hectic, to tell you the truth. So I got hurt skating. I basically fell where my big toe touched my shin without breaking a bone.
Ow.
So all my tendons basically separated.
Okay.
And when that happened, I stayed home a lot with Gabe and would just smoke heroin and take Norcos. And that was like pretty much where the opioid addiction really kicked in.
Gotcha.
So coming to the traumatic part, when I came home one day from skating, it was rough. So we're at the house, and my friend Brent brings his friend in the house and his 6-year-old son. Mm-hmm. And Gabe is basically having a heroin overdose in front of us.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to
Did you know that was going on?
No, I had no idea.
You just thought he was a little more faded than usual.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I just thought he was like acting weird. He was like screaming out like Georgia the Jungle, making weird noises, like
Right.
like acting weird.
And you're like, oh well, he's having a good one.
Yeah, and I'm distracting this kid that's like 6 years old with playing video games to not watch Gabe basically overdose. And his dad is with my roommate smoking meth in the bedroom.
Oh, Jesus.
So
dude.
it was just horrible situation.
Sure.
So I come home from skateboarding, and I just had this gut feeling like in my mind that like something's wrong, I come home and the porch light's not on. It's usually on. And then I open the door, and Gabe is dead on the kitchen floor.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was
Well, so let me know that timeline. So he was overdosing, but you didn't really know it.
Yeah.
And then the kid, like, whose kid was it?
So it was my roommate's Brent's friend.
Okay, so it wasn't Gabe's kid. No. So did you get the kid out of there?
Yeah, so I was entertaining the kid while Gabe was basically overdosing in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then we all went to the skate park together.
Except for Gabe.
And I was like, hey, man, I think we should help him,
Right. How did y'all leave and he was okay, or
he was like sitting?
He was nodded out.
He was just sitting, acting weird, flopping his hands, making noise, like
and y'all were just like
coherent.
Yeah, y'all would be okay.
Yeah. And I was like, Brent, bro, let's take him to the hospital. And he's all like, I've seen Gabe.
Oh yeah, he's done that before.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah.
He's like, I've seen Gabe locked in a bathroom for like a day.
Yeah, he'll be fine. I got you. Okay.
Yeah. So
and then not so much.
Not so much,
right.
man.
Right.
So I came home, and he basically was dead on the kitchen floor. And I was so young. I was 19 at the time.
Yeah.
So I tried to give him like mouth-to-mouth resuscitation.
Yeah.
And it was just a horrific scene.
Oh, yeah.
Where like the air would come back out of his mouth, and I'm like, he's alive,
right?
And then I'd like lift his head up, and then I got a phone call from the house phone. That's how old this is.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, a house phone, and then I
you mean the landline?
The landline.
Right.
And then I let go of his head, and I picked up the phone, and the head just went.
Oh yeah,
straight on the linoleum.
Yeah, when somebody is unconscious,
that
gravity takes full effect.
Big time.
Yeah. But I've had to do the CPR resuscitation, and that in itself is traumatic.
Oh yeah, the thing that was so traumatic about it was that I didn't wipe his mouth, and there's bile.
Oh, so he had already thrown up and all that stuff. Yeah.
So I was like, ugh.
CPR hygiene. Whoops.
Yeah, not good.
Right.
So when that happened, I was like, okay, time to move out.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So did y'all call the paramedics, and then they came and they said, oh yeah, he's dead.
So my roommates were like, okay, this is what you got to do. You got to go into his bedroom, take all the paraphernalia, take all the heroin, grab it, put it in the trunk of the car, and then get out of there and ditch it somewhere.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, I'll do that,
Right.
And then I stayed at the house for like a couple days, and my roommates were like, hey, man, where's that stuff?
Yeah, right.
And I was like, I threw it away. And they're like, where? And like, I was like so dumbfounded of like their addiction. Like they wanted to go get it. Yeah. That I was like, it's gone. Like, what are you guys talking about? Do you know, do you know what just happened?
Gabe is dead, dude.
Yeah.
All right.
So my dad hits me up, and he's all like, hey, move back in. So I'm like, perfect. That lasted maybe a week or two, or like not long.
Did you and your dad have like an estranged relationship? I mean, at that time, or what?
No, it wasn't really like estranged, but like I would just see him, and we would be cordial and everything like that. But he was Christian. He remarried a woman that's so kind and Christian, and I was just like, I don't believe in God. I believe in drugs. I can't be in this house.
Yeah, no, I get it.
And I would just
it was not conducive to where your head was at the time.
Not at all.
Right.
And they would drug test me, and I would basically pop all the time. Yeah. So after a while, I was like, I'm out of here.
So did your dad know that like one of your roommates had passed away?
Oh,
and then that's why he was like, hey, dude, maybe, come over and live with us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
He was all like, you need to get out of that house.
Yeah. Right.
And he was like, you can live here, just go back to college, do like the normal thing. And I was all like, okay, I'll do it. And I think I took like half a semester of like rock and roll history.
Well, hey, that's a cool course to take.
And just was like doing drugs the whole time.
Sure.
Yeah. So I got out of there, and I moved to North Carolina to live with my mom.
Okay.
Yeah. And the same Jimmy selling dope at 7-Eleven in California was actually in North Carolina. I couldn't believe it.
That's
it was there.
Insane, dude. So your drug dealer relocated?
No, I'm just saying I can't get away from it.
Right, yeah. Your drug dealer's following you.
Yeah. Right. So my drug dealer is following me. I'm just basically trying to do the geographical change, right? So I'm in North Carolina for a while. Drug addiction basically continues to go on.
By the way, I don't even know how old you are now.
I'm 37.
Okay, 37.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And my mom's like, hey, do you want to... I was like living in a trailer out there, stealing. I got arrested for larceny because in North Carolina, if you steal from your employer, that's more than $200. You go to jail, and it's a felony.
Oh, wow. Holy shit.
I know. Okay. So I was like working overnight grocery at a local grocery store called Harris Teeter. And I basically pretended I was Mr. Harris Teeter.
Okay.
And everything in this store was mine to eat. So so I would just
it was just open grazing.
Yeah.
Right.
So I would have sushi and Red Bull and take ribeyes home and everything. And, and it caught up to me. Yeah. So they take me in the back room, and they're like, Harris Teeter's a forgiving company. We've been in this industry through 15 recessions. We really care about our employees. If you write down what you took, why you took it, and how you're going to pay us back, we will let you keep your job. No law enforcement will be called, this and that. So I got tricked in signing my own confession. Oh, no. Okay. Yeah. And then the cuffs went on, and I went to jail.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Okay. And then...
you should have just done I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I know.
But, yeah.
I mean, like, nowadays, you just watch, like, every YouTube video or whatever, and it's all like, I don't answer questions. Yeah.
Right. But well, how old were you then?
I was probably, like, 22.
Yeah. I mean, we're stupid at that age.
It's dumb. Yeah. Everything that they said was truth. Yeah.
So,
So it was my first offense. I got probation, and it got expunged from my record. Okay. So that was really nice.
Sure.
But after that, I was like, time to go back to California.
Okay.
So
I almost got a felony in North Carolina. Yeah. Let's go back to where old Gabe died.
Yes, absolutely. So basically, I was just running coast to coast, from everything. Right. And when I moved back to California, that's when I started like IV using.
Okay. Yeah. When you moved back to California, was that with your dad or no?
So it started with my dad, and it was the same thing. There was rules, there was curfews, drug structure. Right. Yeah. And I got out and was homeless and couch surfing around Orange County for like a couple years, and just like doing dope and doing everything that drug addicts do, lie and steal. And steal your wallet and help you look for it. And,
oh yeah,
and
I love
like
that one, Neil.
Yeah,
dude, I had $100. It was sitting there. Oh, I don't know. Let me help you look for it.
Man,
that's hilarious.
I remember being in this sober living, and the guy's like, "Do you know where my Xanax is?" And I was like, "No, man, I don't know. Let me help you look for it."
Right.
And then an hour later, he's all like, "Hey, I found this under your bed."
Right.
And I'm like caught red-handed.
Oh,
and I'm just
no.
like, I don't know.
How did that get there, dude? That's hilarious. Hey, well, let's take a pause real quick for a commercial. We actually have our sponsor, which is Chad's mom, a.k.a. Little Sheila. She has a book out, and it is called 2 Calls, and here it is.
Imagine getting that phone call as a parent that your son has been hit by a car and is being life flighted.
2 hours before we got the call, Chad had called me to tell me it was the best day of his life. And then I get another call, and a stranger had found him, and they were care flighting him to a trauma unit, and that he would start praying for our family that we needed to hurry.
You know, when you wake up on the operating table and they're like, we're going to cut off both your legs. And then I wake up and then one's gone, the other one's in an external rod system. It's just not good. The real kicker is that I've had like all of these scars all over my arms, and that's all from complications resulting from drug abuse.
I never thought about giving up on him. Never. This is my son, and I know he's going to be okay. You cannot just have help for the addict. You have to seek out professional help. The whole family has been affected.
And I just want to make that very clear to anybody who's out there listening, that if I can do this thing as much as I've been through, man, there's a lot of wiggle room for people before they get to that point where they can do it too.
All right, and that book is actually called 2 Calls. If you go to 2calls.org, you can actually get in touch with Lil Sheila and Chad. They actually do speaking engagements. You can also buy the book, all that good stuff. And then we also have some music out, and here it is.
Focus yourself.
All right, and those tracks are actually streaming on Spotify. If you go to a playlist called This Is Kelly Reverb, you can follow that playlist. You can follow my artist profile, Chad's artist profile, all that good stuff. And then be sure and follow This Pink Cloud, because we're on Spotify, we're on YouTube, and be sure and like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, because they say it matters, so then I have to say it matters. But anyway, it'll help us spread the word on the show, and get the word out there, and help other people. But other than that, back to the exciting middle of your story. By the way, you do have some impressive ink.
Thank you.
Let's see it.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, show.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, ink. How many of those are prison tattoos?
Only one. Only one that's got covered up.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So where was I? Moving back to California. Another
Yeah.
change.
Back to where Gabe died.
Yeah. So in and out of rehab, in and out of sober living, in and out of being homeless for years.
Right.
And then I basically overdose in my grandma's bathroom.
Oh, nice,
Yeah,
dude. And
that was a good one. Good
yeah.
time.
So are you doing crystal and and heroin at the same time, or what has it migrated to at this point?
So I would say after Gabe died, I basically was doing the old OxyContin 80s.
Okay.
And then it was too expensive, and I got to heroin.
Right. Yeah. And that's kind of how it went for a lot of people, because the oxys were out there, but then the oxys were, in some cases, hard to find. And then, what's the next logical step?
And heroin was like a tenth of the price.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So it's just like a numbers game, man.
Yeah. So I just overdosed in my grandma's bathroom, and my mom was like, "Hey, you can go back into sober living, or you could come back to North Carolina." But this is how many times I've moved from California to North Carolina.
Right. Well, so when you overdosed, so did you actually, did you pass away?
So I was sleeping on my grandma's fold-out couch and raiding her liquor cabinet.
Okay.
And then I shot up in the morning, and I woke up to the fire department kicking in the door and like grabbing me.
Good times.
Yeah, but I wouldn't say that I passed away. But
right. I didn't know if you had officially expired.
No.
But it was bad enough to where Grand Gma calls the fire department.
Absolutely.
So, right.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I pretty much I moved back to North Carolina, and this time I'm probably about like 27, and I do the whole psychiatrist Suboxone thing.
Okay. Yeah.
And I did Suboxone maintenance from 27 to 30.
Right. Yeah. Well, and just for those that don't know, Suboxone is part of MAT, which is medically aided treatment, which is like if you're on heroin, they either go Suboxone or methadone.
Yes.
And I hear methadone is nasty.
Oh, it's nasty.
But the end goal of doing MAT, Suboxone and all that, is to gradually step down, and wean you off is the point. But there are people that are just on Suboxone for their life. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
So,
and as long as I kept paying this doctor, she would keep prescribing it.
Yeah.
And I did that for 3 years, and then started to get on Adderall too. So basically,
Nice.
I was doing the
combo,
the legal meth and heroin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So everything I was doing when I was like 19, I learned how to do it through society's medication area.
Yeah. And I'm sure you're not the only person to manipulate the system. You know, it's like, oh, cool, I can keep this party going legally.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it worked for a while, and then, everything fell apart.
Right.
And then my mom was like, one last time, hey, it's your 30th birthday.
Right.
I remember having this realization, like going on Facebook and seeing all my friends growing up with kids and jobs. And it was my 30th birthday, and I'm sitting in this like trap house of an apartment with like a mattress on the ground, and being like, I have nothing.
Right.
And my mom the next day says, hey, I got a birthday card from your dad. It has money in it. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Come on over.
Right. Sure.
So she comes over, and she's like, I know what you're doing. Do you want one last trip to rehab? And she's like, we're going to take you to Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Texas?
What?
And they took me.
That's not in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Right.
They took me to Gaston House Transitions.
Okay.
So Gaston House was this transitional program that was all men's and 12-step base.
Okay, and that was in Dallas?
Yeah, it was off Junius Street in East Dallas.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
It's Gaston House, but it's not off of Gaston.
Well, there was an original off Gaston,
okay,
but they built a second house.
And what year was this?
2017.
2017, okay.
Yeah.
Is it still around?
No, they shut down.
Okay, all right.
It was Chico West, if you've heard of him. He started it.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's when I first learned the 12 steps.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was I never heard that before. Every treatment center I had was triggersless and co-ed, and it was just a recipe of disaster to sneak into the girls' rooms and do whatever,
Yeah.
So when
you had how many times had you been to rehab or tried recovery prior to that?
I would say this was my seventh.
Okay,
yeah.
so in all the rehabs you went to, were they all either in California or
North Carolina? Yeah.
And none of them mentioned AA in the big book or anything?
They did mention it, but they didn't go through it with you. And it was always like a discussion meeting. And when you're in there, it's just like a big circle of people saying like how shitty my day is, you know? And instead of like focusing on like fears, resentments, and everything like that.
Right.
So when I finally was able to read the book and work the steps, that's when I started to get a form of sobriety.
I gotcha. Yeah.
And I went through the program. It's a tier-based program where you have to work the steps, you have to get a sponsor, you have to sponsor people, everything like that.
Sure.
And when I graduated, they hired me as a house manager.
Oh, okay.
So
cool.
I was like, I have identity now.
Right.
You
Yes.
know, I am a house manager saving all these children.
And I love it when I am Captain AA.
Yes, I was Captain AA. You know,
Yeah.
I could like quote the book, recite the book.
Oh yeah,
everything like that.
Right.
And basically, they shut the house down like under our feet without really telling us.
Oh, okay.
And
that's fun.
And it was a compound where they owned this like huge house that could hold about like 30 people, and they owned the apartment complex next door. So when you graduated, you go to the apartment complex.
Okay,
next door.
sure.
So like my whole identity was in like a block radius, you know? And I knew nothing outside of it in Texas.
Right.
Yeah. So when they when they shut that down,
But you had gotten sober at this time, right?
yeah, I was like a year and a half sober.
Oh, right. And then so you just never ventured out of the compound?
Never ventured out of the compound.
Okay.
Yeah, like my thing was like the 24-hour club.
Oh, yeah. Well, shout out 24-Hour Club. We love them.
Yes.
Wait. Not that one. We want to get the air horn. There we go. Shout out 24-Hour Club.
Yeah.
No, because they're great.
Yeah,
they do
they're
great
amazing.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would just be at the 24-Hour Club or be at Men of Nehemiah or just all
dude.
the, like,
I love,
circle.
Men of Nehemiah is great too.
Yeah, all those like circle places, DAA.
Right.
Like that was like my circle.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then when it got shut down and everything, I was like, oh shit, I'm a 32-year-old drug addict that waits tables. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, like this is not fun anymore.
Sure.
So reality hit again. And then when reality hit again, I was like, I think I'd be happier using.
Oh, okay.
So I remember it was 23 months in 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so some significant time.
Yeah. I thought so as well. And I was just doing the same thing over and over again, reading On Awakening and reading how it works and everything and trying to find peace about that. But I didn't really identify my higher power. You know?
Right.
That was the main thing for me.
Okay.
My higher power was the program, and some people it works for them that way.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, they could do that, but for me it just didn't.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went back out, and then
well, a lot of people just in general and with the 12-step program have a tendency to that is a really sticking point for them. And it's just like whatever it is, dude, like I mean, whatever it is to you, if it's your higher self, it doesn't say this is your higher power.
Absolutely.
And then that's where people like sometimes can't get around that word and the terminology and the whole God terminology.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I went back out and burned everything down to a record of 3 weeks, was homeless, lost my apartment, almost lost my job. And And then I was like, man, I need help. I went to my mama paid 1 month. Shout out to my mom. Of Cardinal House.
Okay, yeah, and I love Cardinal House, and that is actually 3 spots in Dallas, and that is owned now currently by Josh W. Jordan.
Yeah.
The People's Champ.
The People's Champ.
A quick plug.
Bow, bow.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I met Josh, and I got sober again.
Right.
And I started working the steps again.
Yeah.
But I did start. I don't know if you can talk about religion on this podcast.
You can talk about whatever you want.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, please do.
I started looking into God and Christianity.
Yeah.
And I would meet with a pastor, and he's like, just read the Gospels, and I'd read it and just try to pick apart everything. You know?
Right.
I was like,
it's bullshit.
Yeah, I was like, what if Jesus had a twin brother, and when they rolled away that stone, the twin came out? It was like,
right.
It was like, gotcha.
The resurrection is now a magic trick.
Yes. So I'm just meeting with him, and then he's all like, and the pastor is like, what if you went outside in this pouring rain and didn't get a single drop on you? And I was like, oh my goodness, that's so profound.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I started just reading the Gospels and kind of reading it as a story, without even.
Well, I mean, I think the Bible is hard to just take literally.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it's a lot of metaphors and figurative.
Absolutely. So when I was reading that, I was just reading it and kind of just applying it to my life, you know? And I was like, oh my gosh, this makes sense. Oh my gosh, this kind of relates to the big book with resentments. Oh my God, you know, everything like that. And then when I started to do that, I identified what my higher power was over time. It took me like a good year or so.
Okay.
And then that's where long-term sobriety started to kick in. And I've been sober ever since. And I met my wife.
Okay.
She's not an addict. She's completely.
She's a normie.
She's a normie, complete opposite. of me.
What year did you meet your wife?
So I met her in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, I was 3 weeks sober.
Oh wow.
Yeah, living at Cardinal House.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, she was the transfer new hire at a restaurant called True Food Kitchen.
Okay.
And I just threw every pickup line that I could.
All right.
Her,
Well, and it worked.
Yeah,
I guess.
It did. I mean, I wore her down. I mean, it probably like literally 5 8-hour shifts of straight like, are you from Memphis? Because you're the only 10 I see. Just so cheesy. Yeah.
Well, so and then do you have kids yet, or?
Yeah, now I have a 14-month-old baby girl.
Right.
Her name is Levi Grace.
Okay.
And she's pregnant again, 5 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's going to be my son, which will be John
great.
Luke Upton.
Yeah. Congrats.
Yeah. I mean, life came back in this last 5 years so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it was amazing. Like, it's funny because the guy we had on last week, Ryan, he was saying how he burned it down for, 30 plus years, but that he got it all back within like a year.
Yeah.
And it kind of seems like that might have been the case with you. Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, like, my background of like heroin addict, homeless, jumping from state to state.
Yeah.
And her background was.
Well, you had a good 20 plus year career at that, right?
Pretty much. Yeah. It was like, man, I would say 17 to 30.
Yeah. Okay.
So a while.
So 23 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so she grew up in Waxahachie, which she did all elementary through high school at one school and then went to a private Christian college in the same city.
Right.
You know? So she has a background in church leadership, biblical studies, a master's in business, and she's getting her doctorate. And I am a high school graduate heroin addict. So, like, complete opposites.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know?
Yeah, for sure.
And somehow, like, God put us together.
Sure,
you know?
yeah. Well, it's funny. Like, I'm like a DJ producer, one semester of college, much like yourself. And then my wife has her master's in child psychology. And I'm like, well, you know, who's the smart one in the family?
I mean, like, they might be book smart, but we're pretty street smart.
Well,
to tell you the truth. Yeah.
Survivor.
Yeah.
We've got that survival instinct for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So now, like, just through the program and through church, like, my life is completely different. And that's why I wanted to come on the show.
Well, okay, so like let's hear a little bit. I mean, as far as maintenance and keeping you or helping you maintain your sobriety, let's talk about that for a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. So basically, I do morning meditation every morning.
Okay.
I read passages of my Bible, and then read the big book, and it's really sweet time because I wake up with my daughter and she just sleeps on my lap, and I go to church and serve at my church on Sundays, and we teach a premarital course on Tuesdays.
Right.
Gonna plug Upper Room Road to One if you guys ever want to. Upper Room Dallas.
Yeah, sure. Talk about it. What is it?
Yeah, so on Tuesday nights we go through a book called Road to One that talks about basically all these different questions to see if you're compatible for marriage. I really didn't want to do it in the beginning because I didn't want to be the person to be like, hey, you're not compatible, because like my background is like I'm a drug addict and my wife is a doctorate. Like, how can we be together? We're definitely not compatible.
Yeah.
But the class isn't really like that. The class basically outlines like expectations, finances, sexual intimacy, spiritual intimacy, things of those natures.
And now, is this through the church or what?
Yeah, it's through the church.
What I mean, how can, if people are interested in that, how can they get there?
Sure. You can go to upperroom.com and go to the Dallas location, and you can sign up under the classes for Road to One. Also, there's an app called Church Center that you can download, put in Upper Room Dallas, and you can go to the resource page and find all the classes.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then, so how long did you end up staying at Cardinal House? Like, I mean,
I stayed a month.
That's it?
And then I dipped.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, after my mom was like, hey, I'll pay a month. And then I was like, okay, I can pay $850 to live with like 6 guys, or I can get a really terrible apartment in Dallas for $850.
All right.
And then I just moved out.
Gotcha. No, I mean, it makes sense. So, I mean.
But I just stayed super close to community. And I went into like every single meeting, and we started, there's a friend of mine named Drew Stevenson. And he started this program called DAA. It was off 5600 Royal on Wednesday nights, where I think Milk and Whiskey is, where that church is.
Sure.
And we basically ran that meeting for like 2 years straight. And then unfortunately we couldn't get a lot of people to keep coming to it, and then it kind of just fell through.
Yeah.
But I think that was like a huge structure for me to maintain my sobriety.
Right. Well, I mean, a lot of people, and me included, is, I think one of the main benefits is having somebody, a tribe, a collective that you can relate to, that you can reach out to, if you're feeling a certain way,
Absolutely.
like feeling a little sketch, you want to talk it out, or that just, even like going to a meeting because it gets you out of your own headspace.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, that's kind of honestly why I started this show, is because there were so many stories that I would hear, and I was like, dude, I want to start asking this guy questions, or just go, what the fuck were you thinking, dude? You know, I want to do that, but I want to bring it outside and just make it a little more informal. And that was kind of the whole thing, because, in the rooms you're like, well, I don't feel so bad about myself.
Oh, 100%. I love church, and church is amazing, but it is very like cookie cut, Yeah. So say like I go in there for a while, but I'm like stuck in like self, or something's up with me. I'm funky, you know?
Yeah.
I'm restless, irritable, and all that
Rid.
stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
rid. So I'm like, okay, I need to pop into the 24-hour club.
Right, yeah.
And I got to hear this
That'll
guy,
check it for you, for sure.
100%. So if anyone that has a little bit of long-term sobriety is feeling funky, go to Men of Nehemiah. Go to the 24-hour club. Go to these places and literally go to a nooner and freaking talk to the people there.
Right. That's I've heard somebody told a story about this with their sponsor. Okay, so if you're feeling bad about yourself or bad about your life, or if you're crying, having a pity party, I want you to go to the 24-hour club and talk to the first person on a blue mat.
Yes.
And then tell me how bad you feel after that, or
it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, like I used to go do like service work and just walk in there and be like, hey, can I make sandwiches for you guys?
Yeah.
Let me just make all these sandwiches to feel better, because it will definitely get you out of your head.
Right. Well, and I think it's great what you also mentioned, because I did the same thing, especially early on in sobriety, but you still do it now, and I think it's a good idea, to be honest. But I did something, just silly, like, journaling. Mm-hmm. So you do your at night, and then, basically on awakening, and then at night, kind of thing. And I'd have those two separate lists, and it really, really, really helped. Just doing that little simple exercise, which I learned in rehab to do, and it just like, elementary type questions, nothing like deep thoughts, or anything like that. But it was just that mindfulness of having that checklist and doing that checklist really, really helped and aided, especially early on. I guarantee you it would aid me now, but now I'm not as, cognizant of that. But I mean, for the first 6 months, I carried that on outside of rehab, and it definitely helped me in my spirituality as well.
Yeah, it definitely sets you up for the day, and like learning what's going on the night before and everything. And like the main thing I would say is like community and mentors. Like you can say mentors, you can say sponsors, you can say whatever it is.
Friends.
Yeah, because like I have people that I can call in the church world that be like, hey, like I need help with like relationships with my wife, or how to be a husband, how to be a father, things that like I wouldn't really know. And then I have like my sponsor where it's like, bro, I think my wife is being so selfish. Right. Is this my fault? Like what's going on right now?
Right.
I don't feel respected.
You're right. Yeah, I hear you.
So like I can like call any one of these people, and then they'll pick up anytime. Yeah.
Well, that's great, man. Yeah. I love to hear that. And I'm glad you finally got to come on the show, man.
Man, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for letting me tell my story.
Oh, of course. Yeah. And then if you, we always like to give you a chance to the guest to shout out anybody they'd like. So feel free.
Man, I just want to first shout out God.
Yeah, right. We got to do the air horn.
Yeah, and then I just want to shout out the community of AA
and your wife
and my wife and my kids and all that good stuff.
All right. All right. Well, cool. Well, thanks for coming on. And then, I always tell this, if anybody wants to be on the show, hit me up. I mean, how did you hit me up again?
I did an Instagram DM.
Yeah, this Pink Cloud, right?
Yeah.
And there's even an email on there, so it's no secret formula to get on here.
Yeah,
it just took us a while.
It's not a Cinderella story. You could be me. You could tell your story as well.
You could be me. Yeah, right. Well, thanks again for coming on. I appreciate you, being candid, and I think a lot of people can relate to your story. So, and then be sure next week tune in because we have my friend Reed Robinson, and him and his wife actually own a place called Beyond the Bar Bottle Club, and it is a non-alcoholic place that's actually in Richardson, and they're killing it. And, doing well. But be sure and tune in and then like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And then remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.
Activate.